शायद आपको सब जानते हैं, लेकिन आई थिंक सो कुछ हैं जो आपको शायद नहीं जानते. नए लोग भी आए हैं आज. तो लेट मी स्टार्ट. हेलो एवरीवन एंड वेलकम फोजिया जी. फोजिया जी को सब लोग जानते हैं और फोजिया जी जो है वो हमारी वन ऑफ द मेंटल हेल्थ अवेयरनेस की एम्बेसडर हैं. And she is dedicated to teaching community members and clientele new habits and strategies around self-care, nutrition, physical and mental wellness. Fozia is passionate about awakening others to the to the belief that our wellness is our responsibility, and she teaches the importance of prioritizing self-care, empowering groups and individuals through safe and effective workshops. Fozia engages groups from the moment she steps in front of them and leaves them with empowering tools, focused mindset where participants can identify their life issues, better maintain wellness, and better manage periods of illness. Collaboration of knowledge. Fozia has a heart of service and drawing from her personal and professional experiences using key concepts of wellness, recovery action plan, RAC, and various community partners. Fozia is committed to wiping out stigma and normalizing conversation around mental health. So welcome Fozia ji. Today's topic is self-care and mental health. तो आज हम जो cover करेंगे topics उसमें understanding stress and anxiety, why self-care is essential for your mental health, and learning coping techniques to maintain your mental health. Welcome Fozia ji. Now mic is yours. You can start your presentation.
Thank you so much, Gulnaz, and thank you to MWC for the opportunity to be here with all of you. I'm super excited because talking about self-care is one of my favorite things to do. So we can get started. I want to apologize if my voice is a little bit scratchy. I'm just getting over a couple of things, and so I've been trying to just stay really hydrated. So if you would like me to repeat something, please just ask me to repeat it. Also, I like the sessions के वो काफी interactive अगर रहें, तो अगर किसी के पास कोई question हो that you feel कि वो end तक नहीं wait कर सकते, you're welcome to bring it up. You know, if it's pertaining to the discussion, we can have a conversation on it. If not, end में we will have question and answer period. ठीक है? Okay, so thank you again, and let's get started. The last few years, we've had a lot of challenges. I mean, COVID की वजह से a lot of people are struggling, and there's so many other reasons for struggling that have come out because of COVID. And now it's been like almost going to be 3 years, but you know, we're trying to get back some kind of normalcy in our lives, but still, there's still so much uncertainty about COVID. We still have social unrest, and there's just been a really stressful time for a lot of us. Now, when we talk about stress, we know that from now and then, like now, time and time again, people will experience different types of stress. And it's normal that we have a wide range of emotions when you're feeling stressed, such as anxiety or fear or anger, even grief. Especially during these times, we're finding that more people are struggling and we're having a challenging time dealing with this type of stress. But, you know, we know that stress comes and goes in our life. That's fine. But when we experience stress over long periods of time, there can be long-term effects, impacts, and that actually has a direct effect on our overall health. So it can affect us in our physical health as well as our mental health. And for some people who are already dealing with anxiety disorders, उनके लिए ये time जो है वो ज़्यादा वो anxiety जो है वो ज़्यादा heightened हो जाती है, and what happens with heightened levels of anxiety is sometimes the anxiety persists and it doesn't go away. Now, this can be really distressing and it can interfere with the daily functioning of our lives. And agar hum kuch kare nahi and we just leave it untreated, things can worsen over time. So tonight, we're going to talk about understanding stress and anxiety, why self-care is essential for our mental health, and we'll talk about coping techniques so that we can maintain our mental health. And lastly, I'll leave you with a tool that you can use to regularly check in with yourself in different areas of your life. Something I use in my workshops called a wellness wheel. So to get started, as I mentioned earlier, I like the sessions to be interactive. If I say something and you feel like it's bringing something up for you, we can absolutely take a few moments and discuss it. Otherwise, if your question can wait till the end, we do have a Q&A at the end. So about stress and anxiety. First, it's important that we understand the difference between the two. Stress is the physical or mental response to external events or situations that make you feel uncomfortable or feel like you're getting ill. These are normal reactions to life events, but if you don't address them, they may actually make you feel worse. A stressor can be one-time or a short-term occurrence, or it can happen repeatedly over a long period of time. A stressor for one person may not be a stressor for another. There are some stressors, that we know would be across the board for everyone it's stress, but for some people, something that I think is stressful may be Gulnaz. For her, it's just another Tuesday afternoon and it's not stressful for her. So for each of us, because we're unique and individual, we have our own window of tolerance when it comes to stress. And why that is, we're going to talk about that later. So I just want to ask you, everyone in the group, whoever, if you feel comfortable answering, what can you think of that's a stressor for you? If you want to share. And if you're talking, you're muted.
And we have the question again, please.
Yeah. I'm just asking, what can you think of that is a stressor for you in your life? ऐसी कोई चीज है जो आपके ख्याल में अभी आ रही है जो आप सोच सकते हैं कि ये मेरे लिए स्ट्रेसफुल चीज है या स्ट्रेसफुल इवेंट हुआ है or something like that?
मैं बताऊं मेरे लिए क्या स्ट्रेसफुल है?
जी बोले.
I have to learn something about this that I cannot.
Okay.
I need help.
Okay.
I'm not getting it.
Okay, excellent. So it's great because you acknowledge what the stress is, and you also know that you need to get help, and you're asking for help. Excellent. Anybody else that you can recognize the stressor? Ji Narendra ji bole. Aap mute hain.
Actually, stress is caused by this events passed away. We are always thinking this has been happened, this is called like this and this. And anxiety is for coming things which we have not seen and not suffered. That is anxiety. And stress is whatever had happened with us.
Okay, perfect. Yep, I get that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Yes, Madanji.
What is, I mentioned, is temporary. It has already gone. There was a stress a couple of days ago when I learned that my granddaughter in England, she fell and hurt her leg. I thought she broke some bones, but today I talked and she said it's no fracture, no nothing, but she's in a kind of a cast. So she's been told not to walk, put a pressure on the leg. The reason it was a stress because she is planning to come to Canada, and we still do not know whether she will be able to come or not. But my biggest stress is gone, that she is okay. It's a minor thing, and it will be taken care.
Okay.
That's it.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, Subha.
टेंशन, एंजाइटी एंड और क्या चीज है इसके साथ, ये सारे एक ही फैमिली के लोग हैं,
Depression.
ही करते हैं। मैं बड़ी कोशिश करती हूँ ये एंजाइटी या टेंशन जो हो इसको कैसे निकाला जाए, तो वो मेरे लिए पता नहीं, मुझे लगता है कि अब मेरे अंदर मेरे लगता है कि मेरे जिस्म के साथ गूंदा गया है ये।
Okay.
तो कोविड में भी बहुत ज्यादा डिप्रेशन आ गया था इसमें मुझे कि मैं अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकती थी। मेरा ये टेंशन अल्लाह करे कि खत्म हो जाए, कुछ बेहतर सोल्यूशन निकल आए।
Okay.
लेकिन ये टेंशन जो है ना वो तो साथ साथ ऐसे कंधा मार मार के चलती है कि हाँ मैं तेरे साथ हूँ।
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And hopefully we'll be able to give you some strategies and make this all kind of make sense.
Fozia, I
at the
want to
end.
share
Yeah.
when I have to do more than one task or my things are pile up or I'm not organized. I mean, I have to go out and for in a week for 2-3 times, then my the household chores are pile up. So then I stressed out.
Okay. All
Because
right.
your regular work is going on and you have piled up the other things, so then
Stress.
sometimes and if then it, I mean, more than 2-3 days I can't be able to do, then I feel depression and anxiety.
Okay. Okay. I get it. It's very real. Ji, Kamaljeet, Ji, go ahead.
यस, मैं सभी का सुन रही थी और आपने भी फौजिका इसी से शुरू किया कि कोविड में ज्यादा ये उभर के सामने आया कि हम स्ट्रेस्ड हैं, टेंशन में हैं, डिप्रेशन है, ऑल दिस टर्मिनोलॉजी, दिस हैज बिकम वेरी कॉमन। लेकिन मेरा वर्षन ये है, लाइटली बता रही हूँ कि ड्यूरिंग द कोविड पीरियड, इन फैक्ट अगर ये हुआ कि मेरे को कोई काम नहीं है, मैं बाहर नहीं जा सकती या घर में ही सारे बैठे हैं, मुझे खाना ज्यादा बनाना है क्योंकि सारे लोग यहाँ घर में है ना, तो अगर कोई आप लिखने का या पढ़ने का या कोई भी काम अगर शुरू कर लेते हैं एंड व्हेन यू आर मेंटली बिजी, तो मुझे लगता है कि ये डिप्रेशन और टेंशन वाला सोचने का टाइम ही नहीं मिलना चाहिए।
Okay, great point, Hanji. That's a great point. Thank you so much for sharing.
Keep yourself busy.
Keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love that. अच्छा, चलो anxiety को देखते हैं. Anxiety is your body's response to the stress. So we know that stress is an external, and anxiety is the body's response to the stress. Anxiety can occur even if there isn't any current threat or stressor, but we think that there is, फिर भी anxiety हो सकती है. So anxiety is internal. Usually, anxiety involves a fear or a persistent feeling, जैसे कुछ होने वाला है, that there's something unpleasant or bad that's going to happen. Right? Anxiety can cause you to have uncomfortable feelings that interfere with how you live your life. So anxiety यहाँ तक पहुंच सकती है कि it actually interferes in our day-to-day how we live our life. So now that we understand anxiety, does anyone remember that you experienced anxiety? Anybody? Ji, go ahead. Prophet Ji, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, मेरी नेचर, जैसे मैं घर के काम करती हूँ तो मेरा हर काम, घर का काम या ऑफिस का काम क्लॉकवाइज होता है, इसलिए मेरे को टेंशन नहीं होती, तो इसी हिसाब से चलता रहता है, कोई परेशानी नहीं होती मेरे अपने कामों में। लेकिन जो कुछ होने वाला है, गलत होने वाला है, उसका मेरे आपकी सुने तो मुझे ये हुआ कि जैसे सपोज करो हम घर में बैठे हुए हैं और कहीं बाहर एकदम से ब्रेक लगने की आवाज आई बहुत जोर की, जैसे तो दिमाग में 20 तरीके की बातें होने लग जाती हैं। एक्सीडेंट हो गया, अरे किसी को चोट आ गई होगी, अरे किसी को ये हो गया होगा, कहानियां बननी शुरू हो जाती हैं दिमाग में। तक 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 अपना हाल ऐसा हो जाता है कि संभालना भारी हो जाता है, गले पे आ जाती है जान, क्या हो गया होगा, और मन करता है भागो जाके हेल्प करो,
Right.
ये फील होता है।
Yes, bilkul. Okay, you're not alone. That's familiar. Yes, Shantaji, go ahead.
I would like to suggest like मेरे life की experience में मैं बोलती हूँ. My family says I'm always anxious and always trying to do what to do next, and I'm not, but I was when मैंने यहाँ पर आने के बाद I went back to school for 2 years. I was in my 40s at that time. I used to be very, very anxious because I have to prove to I used to internally feel I have to prove to my husband and my daughter that they are always have been very good in studies and all that. So I used to get very anxious if there was an assignment, or I had to, घर का काम भी करना पड़ता था, school का भी काम रहता था, आना जाना. So that anxiety was there at that time, only for a little while. Once I finished this thing, I was again calm. Internally, I never told anybody I had the anxiety, but I used to be I can understand why people get anxious or anxiety, how it comes.
Right. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so we've heard from a couple of people, and now we can understand also that both stress and anxiety can affect our physical and our mental health, right? And it can cause you to experience symptoms of extreme worrying, like we've heard, feeling uneasy, having difficulty relaxing, or if we talk about the physical effects of it, we can have pain in our body, such as headaches or muscle pain, or maybe some people have a nervous stomach, right? Or we have difficulty sleeping, or even high blood pressure can be as a result. So here's the thing, if the stressor doesn't go away and it continues, it can interfere with our life, and you can also experience more severe problems. So we mentioned sleeping, but then we can have like severe problems with our sleeping, where we can sometimes go even days without sleeping, and that can trigger psychosis. We can have issues with our cardiovascular, our immune system, our digestive, and even with our reproductive systems. So sometimes, even when someone is trying to get pregnant, if they have a lot of stress, they might find it more challenging and more difficult. So we have to be aware, and we have to recognize these things. And again, if these things go untreated, as it becomes worse, we can also be at higher risk for developing a mental illness or an anxiety disorder or depression. So we have to be really on top of paying attention to what our body is going through and how we're allowing external things to affect us. Okay. So how are we doing so far? Everyone good? Any questions? Yeah. All right. Yes, go ahead, Gulnaz.
What is the difference between anxiety and anxiety disorder?
Okay, so can I get to that at the end? Can I talk about the anxiety disorders at the end? Okay, perfect. Remember your question, but I'll talk about the anxiety disorders at the end. Okay, awesome. And just to keep in mind, to give you an idea, when something is like clinical, or when we say that it's like a longer period, it has to be like at least maybe 6 months or more that it's been persistent, right? But I'll talk more about the anxiety disorders at the end. So we all have our own way of coping with stress, right? Like, we heard from Shantaji, she was talking about having that stress build up when something is coming up with deadlines, and she had her own way of dealing with it, as we all do. But it's important for us to understand our patterns and to avoid potentially harmful behaviors. Things like avoidance, pretending that the issue is not at hand. If I avoid it, it's just going to go away. That might not be an effective way to deal with it. Maybe drinking too much alcohol or substance use. Maybe excessive news watching, overeating, or even isolating yourself, because that can also lead to another issue of poor hygiene. So when we're talking about recognizing our patterns, the question comes up, where do our patterns even come from? Like, how do we all have this pattern? And to understand that, we have to go back to our past, the upbringing, the environment, because something that we all do is we give meaning to everything that's happening around us. It's a very natural thing that humans do. So when something happens, we have our own interpretation, and this actually helps us to process the situation. This pattern of thinking was influenced by our past. So our upbringing, our culture, our family dynamics, maybe our school environment, any of those things, anyone that we had as mentors or leaders in, when we were younger, all of those things, the way that we experience them have an impact and have influenced our natural pattern and way of thinking. This becomes part of our automatic way of being. So it becomes our go-to coping mechanism. So in other words, to give you a better idea, say an event, a stressful event happens, something stressful happens, we interpret it, we give meaning to the situation, and then based on the meaning that we give it, it will trigger and bring about feelings and emotions, and then we have our reaction to it. So basically what I'm saying is that our thoughts are the source of our emotions and mood. Okay, I can give you an example of two drivers sitting in rush hour bumper to bumper traffic. The traffic is not going anywhere. These two drivers in separate cars. One of the drivers starts to feel very anxious. He starts looking at the traffic and says, how can I get out of this traffic? Why did I take that exit? How do I go a different route? And he starts to feel very frustrated, maybe angry, a little bit anxious. All of these things start to come up for him. The other driver in the exact same situation takes a look around and says, well, it doesn't look like the traffic's going anywhere. I might as well practice some deep breathing, or I might as well listen to a podcast, or, something like that, where his interpretation of what the situation is completely different. And therefore he has a different thought, and therefore he has a different mood. So he's very calm, he's very relaxed, and he's just kind of going with the flow. And our emotions motivate our behavior, and they prepare us for action, right? So if we're overwhelmed with stress, it may result in feeling emotionally exhausted to the point that it becomes difficult to show up in our relationships. How we perform at work is affected, how we take care of our own health is impacted, and in the case of the driver, being a safe driver on the road. Because now if he's driving with rage or, being anxious or frustration, it's going to impact the way that he's driving on the road. So this is why it's important for us to learn to work through what we're feeling. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. So one thing to keep in mind is we can't control our emotions, that they're ingrained in us and they come up based on how we process any situation. But what we can do is learn to modify our reactions when we see that, our automatic way of being is no longer working, it's not effective, then we can modify that, right? And this can be done using emotion regulation skills. So one of the best ways to work through our emotions is by writing it down, right? Why does that work? Why do you think writing it down helps? Anyone?
having long breaths.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Narendraji.
Sit silent and have long breath.
Yeah. Taking deep breaths also helps with managing our emotions.
Make yourself busy or switch on the music.
Yeah, absolutely. Do some prayer.
Go for walking.
Go for a walk. All of these things. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. The reason that I'm writing it down, and I'm speaking specifically to anyone that journals here will understand this, but even if you don't journal, it might be something that you want to start looking into, is writing down how you're feeling, right? And when we write down how we're feeling and we write down what we're thinking, what it does is it helps us to track our emotions. So hum agar likhenge, then we might not remember pichle hafte mere sath ye ho raha tha and this is how I was feeling. But when we go back and we look at it and hum padhenge, we can say, oh yeah, ye hua tha, then this was how I reacted. And then ye jab hua tha, phir ye mere saath ye feelings ho rahi thi. So what we're doing really is we're able to notice our stressors, we're able to recognize our early warning signs, and we're able to recognize our patterns. तो हम देख सकते हैं कि कौन सी चीज ऐसे है जिससे हम ज्यादा anxious होते हैं, जिससे ज्यादा हम affect होते हैं, and कौन सी चीज ऐसे है जो हुआ but I got over it really quick. And so we start to recognize our patterns and notice what stresses us and the early warning signs. And this is really, really important because if we want to make a change, अगर हम किसी चीज से अवेयर नहीं है तो हमें कैसे पता होगा कि चेंज कहाँ करें और कैसे शुरू करें, right? Awareness is the very first thing. हम जब अपने आप को पहचानेंगे, हम जब अपने आप को समझेंगे, फिर हम देख सकते हैं कि मैं ऐसे करती हूँ तो मुझे ऐसे करना चाहिए. But we have to have awareness first, right? Then also keep in, was somebody saying something? Sorry, Narendra, were you going to say something?
Yeah, if we are in stress mood, we can share our mood with, if not someone, with someone, you go and tell to your flowers or drink some tea, say whatever the problem is, you will feel lighter.
Yes, absolutely. Reaching out to support and sharing is absolutely one of the ways that can help us to feel lighter and help us to feel better.
Yeah.
So for situations that we can change, we can create plans, right? When we know, like I'll use the example for Shantaji, she knew like she was feeling the stress and the anxiety because of her deadlines. So if she put an action plan together on getting things done in a timely manner, maybe not leaving things till the last minute, that would help her to alleviate some or relieve some of that stress and the anxiety. In the case of Gulnaz, maybe with your chores and with having so many things on your plate, what do you think that some of the things are that you could do that would help you deal with it? Yes, Gulnaz.
I can make the list, and it really helped me. I have done so many times then because I forgot some things to do. So I make a list for all the things I have to do then, and it give me a very, good feeling when I tick on the task I have done. Then it gave me more motivations to do the other things. So it really helped.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are all great. A few other things, if I can add, prioritizing the list so that it's not just about going down the list, but prioritize what needs to be done first. कौन सी चीज़ है जो मैं आज नहीं, maybe कल या अगले हफ्ते कर सकूं, right? So prioritizing the list. And the other thing is, maybe delegating, maybe ऐसे कोई चीज है Gulnaz, like maybe emptying the dishwasher, that's on your to-do list, but maybe you can tell one of the kids to do it, right? And take one thing off your to-do list. So we can come up with strategies to deal with things that might be contributing to the stress that we have, right? For situations that we cannot change, ऐसी अगर कोई चीज़ है जो हम नहीं बदल सकते, we need to use coping mechanisms that will help to alleviate the feeling. So when I say coping mechanisms, what I'm talking about is something I refer to as our wellness tools. And wellness tools are things that we can do that maybe we've done in the past as well. Narendra Auntie mentioned also speaking to someone or going for a walk or, breathing techniques, or maybe spending time with friends, right? Or maybe you've just been doing something for so long and you need a break. So you take a break and you go and you do something that's completely a distraction. Maybe jaake koi movie dekh lo, clear your mind from your work and then come back to your work, right? Wellness tools are things that we've done in the past that help us to feel better, and they will help maybe if we need a distraction from the stress before we go back and deal with how, what we can do about it. So those are two things that are really important for us to pay attention to. Practicing self-care also is essential for our mental health. So मैं जब self-care की बात करती हूँ, what do you think? आपको क्या ख्याल आता है? What does self-care mean to you? Yes, Shantaji, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's me time. Everybody should have a me time. अपने लिए
जी
अपने लिए थोड़ा सा टाइम निकालो. Whatever आपको जो भी करना है, किसी को गाना है, किसी को पढ़ना है, forget about the whole world, what's happening. Just me time. If you do, then mind gets calm. Particularly now, because COVID case time mein, everybody was in the house all the time. You're doing things. That's the time you needed me time. Like Narinder ji ne kaha, go for a walk, listen to music, things like that might help. That helps me at least. Or talk to a friend who has gone through it. They can help you getting out and have me time. Like I like to talk to some people when I have my me time. I may talk for an hour or so, and but after that I feel rejuvenated.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And all of the above, it counts as self-care. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Prabhaji.
Yeah. Self-care is something about to take care of ourselves, what our body needs, our mind needs, our myself, what the thing which make me happy, which make me comfortable, which make me as if I'll do that work step by step, nobody will come to disturb me, because everybody will understand she is that type of. She will not give me allow to interfere in that time, because it is her puja time, it is her sleeping time, it is her work time. So everything is in time. So nobody dare to come to disturb me, because also I am also in the same pattern always.
Yes. I like how you said, no one dares to come to disturb me. So what you're talking about is healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are so important for us to really set the rules in relationships. Really, that's what we're doing with healthy boundaries. So someone can see that you're having your me time. Maybe you're sitting with a cup of tea, reading a book. Maybe you have a special chair that everyone knows. When you're there, they're not to disturb you. And that's a boundary that you've set. So yes, absolutely. Anybody else?
And during COVID, I always kept myself busy. You will say, what type of busyness? What was the work? I did so many paintings, the knitting, cooking, these all, and I didn't get the spare time to think about anything.
Okay.
So I was always busy.
Okay, excellent. Yes, Madan Uncle-ji, go ahead.
Thank you. And in my opinion, self-care is your body, mind, and soul care, whichever way you can.
Whichever way you can. Yes. Excellent. Anyone else? Okay. Harsha, go ahead. You're muted. You have to
You're
unmute
mute,
yourself,
Harsha ji.
Harsha.
Whatever you like. मुझे गार्डनिंग का शौक है तो मैं सुबह में गार्डनिंग का चेक कर लेती हूँ, कुकिंग करती हूँ और फिर योगा का मुझे इंटरेस्ट ज्यादा है तो इसी में बिजी रहती हूँ, तो इससे मुझे मेडिकेशन करती हूँ, इससे मुझे मैं कम डाउन होती हूँ.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Okay. So
Yes.
go ahead, Zubda.
मेरी हॉबी जो है वो अच्छी हॉबी यही है कि मैं कुकिंग करती हूँ. जब मैं कुकिंग करती हूँ, खुद को बिजी रखती हूँ, तो मेरी मेंटल हेल्थ गुड रहती है. उस वक्त ये होता है कि जब मैं थोड़ी सी इजी होती हूँ तो मेरे वो शेर भी जो है ना वो खुद ब खुद आने शुरू हो जाते हैं. फिर मैं पोइट्री भी करने लग जाती हूँ. तो जब कुकिंग नहीं करती, कुछ नहीं करना या डिप्रेशन आ जाता है तो फिर उस वक्त बिल्कुल ऐसा जैसे सब किताब बंद हो जाती है. तो अभी मैं 1 महीना हुआ है मैं मूव हुई हूँ दूसरी जगह पे. अभी मेरा सेटअप सही नहीं हो रहा क्योंकि मुझे अभी थोड़ी सी वो हो रही है. अभी मुझे टेंशन थी थोड़ी सी, लेकिन मुझे अभी स्टोर साफ करना था. मैंने कहा नहीं, अभी मैं खुद को ठीक कर लूं, पहले मैं खुद को ठीक करूंगी फिर मैं स्टोर ठीक करूंगी. क्योंकि ये माई सेल्फ जो है मैंने आप सबसे सीखा है और मैंने कहा पहले खुद की सेहत तो ठीक कर लूं, खुद को ठीक करूंगी तो कोई काम करूंगी.
Absolutely.
तो कभी ये होता है कि अब टेंशन हो तो मैं आजकल ये है कि मैं मूवी देख लेती हूँ. तो लास्ट मेरे ख्याल में लास्ट संडे मेरी बेटी मुझे ले गई थी, ये सिनीप्लेक्स पास ही है, तो वो एक फिल्म दिखाई थी उसने मुझे, बड़ी अच्छी थी इंडिया की. तो वो रात को हम 1 बजे फिर वापस आए. फिर हैप्पी थोड़ा अपने आप को हैप्पी करने की कोशिश करती हूँ कि नहीं टेंशन नहीं लेनी. तो बस इसी तरह चल रहा है, जिंदगी अच्छी चल रही है.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely. Okay, that's awesome. I mean, we've heard some great things here, but I also want to mention a couple of things that maybe we don't think of. कि हम सोचते नहीं हैं कि ये self-care के अंदर ये चीजें भी आती हैं. One of them is having a routine. Having routines is very important. Maybe you have a morning routine, maybe you have an evening routine, you know, nighttime routine. Morning routine, ye ho sakta hai ki you wake up at a certain time every day. When you wake up, maybe you do your prayers or meditation. Maybe you take a few minutes to do some exercise or stretching. Maybe you do a little bit of writing. This can be your morning routine, right? It can include your personal hygiene. Maybe you make sure that before you leave your room, you make your bed and you make sure that everything is nice and clean. So the next time you come into your room during the day, you're not looking at a bed that's unmade. All of this can be part of your morning routine, and you can choose yourself what works best for you. A nighttime routine can be something like, okay, 1 hour before I'm going to bed, I'm not using any device. So no iPad, no, cell phone, no social media. This can be something part of your nighttime routine. Maybe some people like to dim the lights a little while before they go to bed. It helps the body to relax a little. Maybe you like to have a cup of herbal tea. I mean, it can be anything. Maybe you brush your teeth, maybe all of these things. But if you have routines, it makes it easier, because as humans, we thrive when we have routines, because then it takes the thinking out of it. We just know, ye karna, ye karna, ye karna, ye karna, and we create these habits around these routines. And so it just makes it easier for us. Another thing, jo kisi ne nahi bola, that really is a very important part of self-care is eating properly. It's so important to make sure that when we eat, we're eating to nourish the body, right? Not just eating because you have a craving, although it's okay to eat if you have a craving. Don't deny yourself foods that you enjoy. But it's important to understand कि हमारा जो खाने का इंतजाम है, it's supposed to be so we nourish the body. right? This is the way that we give the body what it needs in order for it to do what it was designed to do. So now research is showing and science is now understanding, especially for our mental health, it's important for us to have a healthy gut. And the way we get a healthy gut is through the nourishment that we have, having a variety of foods, having the least amount of processed foods as possible, trying to avoid fast foods, trying to eat, as much wholesome and the fruits and the vegetables, like all of the nutrients, because each of the nutrients plays a key role in how the body works and how the body functions. Staying hydrated. Staying hydrated is so key because sometimes we feel a little bit, maybe we have brain fog or we're a little bit confused or we're thinking, I just feel really tired. And it could be that you're dehydrated. The body needs to stay hydrated. Even before you eat something, have a glass of water because maybe you're not hungry, maybe you're just thirsty. So it's important for us to stay hydrated. Exercising and being active, that's a self-care item as well. And the reason we do that is we have a lot of anxiety built up sometimes. We've got this energy built up. And so if you go and you exercise, and it doesn't have to be like intense weightlifting or the treadmill, it could be going for a walk. It could be putting music on, like Narendra Aunty was saying, put some music on, maybe dance around your house a little bit, just work off that extra energy. It will help you to feel better. Another really, really important one is getting enough sleep. We have to get enough sleep because sleep is when the body repairs itself. Sleep is when the body gets rest. And if we don't have adequate sleep, we're not functioning properly, and we're not allowing the body to really become optimal for us. So we have to make sure that we're taking a good night's sleep would be 7 hours. If you need some assistance to fall asleep, I know some people might take some sleeping pills, but you can look at natural alternatives at what you can do.
Sorry to interrupt. Sometimes it's said that I've heard all these things that too much sleeping is also considered as one of the symptoms of depression.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, it is possible because but 7 to 8 hours sleep every night, that's what the body would need. But when we talk about too much sleep, and this is such a great point that you brought up, when we talk about too much sleep, we're talking about maybe sleeping for 12 hours and then you get up and you don't feel like doing anything and you go back to bed and you're sleeping again, right? So it's like oversleeping, right? So we have to be careful and we have to pay attention to any changes in our routines. That's why it's important for us even to have like our sleep routine. What do you do before you go to bed? What time do you go to bed? What time do you wake up in the morning? All of these things are very important to incorporate in our routines. Yes, so Serene, go ahead.
Yes, I had a question. I'm just wondering about exercise. I'm not sure if you gone through that yet, but I'm just wondering, is housework enough, or do you also need to do separate session of exercise as well?
That's such a great question. And although with housework we're moving, the mindset around work is it's a responsibility, it's a chore that I'm doing, right? So actually take time out that's designated specifically for your self-care in the area of exercise, right? Your mindset is completely different in regards to that. Gina, Auntie?
This human being is a social animal, so we should have maximum friends, and those should be good friends so that we can discuss our problems, and they may be helpful everywhere. So we should be good friends.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Okay. It's also important that we have some healthy coping mechanisms in place so we can cope with the stress and anxiety when it happens. So we talked about things that we can do as part of our lifestyle to really, you know, help us deal with things as they come. But what about if you're in a situation right now and you can feel that you're completely stressed out and आपको feel हो रहा है कि anxiety मेरी जो है वो बढ़ती जा रही है, बढ़ती जा रही है, बढ़ती जा रही है. What can you do in that moment to help yourself? Anyone? Yes, go ahead, Pravati.
Yeah. जैसे आपने बोला कि रूटीन होता है, it is my routine, morning time. Surya Namaskar, when I get up early in the morning, my room is in front of the, east side when sun rises. So whenever I feel stress or something and sit down in front of sun, I feel that he is my father. He can able to help me in any situation and sit down there and ask, oh, it really helped me to come out from the stress and really help me to breathing well and really help to think better.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that.
Can I say something?
Fozia,
Yes.
Sirin wanted to say
Okay,
something.
so Gulnaz, can you
Then
just
Prabhaji.
keep track? Can you keep track?
Okay, I just want to say that if you feel that you are in a situation you can't help, seek professional help. I would go to, by myself I am speaking, if I feel I am in a situation I cannot help myself, all these things are not helping me, I'll seek professional help. Probably they might be able to help. They are well versed in that, so they might be able to help. That's what
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Your question
Serene.
was,
This is the watch. This is the watch
Serene?
I am
Okay.
wearing. This one.
Everybody's speaking at once. So what we're going to do is, Gulnaz, I think you said Serene.
Yeah.
Then we'll go to Narendra.
Serene.
Then we'll go to Prabhaji.
I think the most important thing is to breathe, and also you can even drink water, or you could listen to music, or find activities that relax you, whether it's doing a puzzle or even knitting or some kind of hobby. I think when you feel stressed out, the most important thing is you take a few seconds out for yourself and try to center yourself and try to bring yourself back to where you can function again, because you need to take that time out for a few seconds even and just clear your head and try to get back to what you're doing, because we all need a break sometimes, and sometimes things can get over. There's even good stress too and bad stress. So I think it's important that we connect with ourselves again before we continue on.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Okay, and then Narendra Aunty, and then we go to Prabhaji.
Actually, your question was something different.
My question?
You said that you asked that how will you tackle your young ones as a mom? Isn't this was the question?
No, मैं कह रही थी कि we talked about things that we can do as part of a healthy lifestyle. जैसे हमने, खाने का and सोने का and staying hydrated and exercise, सारी चीजों की बात की है. But I'm saying, what about जब हम उस वक्त में होते हैं कि stressful situation में और anxiety हमारी जो है, हमें पता चल रहा है कि ये ज़्यादा बढ़ती जा रही है and it's just heightening even more. तो उस वक्त में हम क्या कर सकते हैं to help ourselves?
एक तो बिल्कुल साइलेंट हो जाओ, किसी को और बिल्कुल मतलब किसी को नहीं बताओ कुछ भी. Better is go out.
Okay.
And speak out whatever. Go on speaking to some in your garden or some tree. Tell them. You will feel lighter.
Okay.
Because you have discussed your problem with it. And even then that is not coming to control, go to doctor.
Okay. Chalo, ठीक है. Thank you. Okay, Prabhaji, go ahead. You're muted. I'm sorry.
Prabhaji, आप mute हैं.
हाँ, एक्चुअली क्या होता है कि मैंने आपको बताया कि जब मेरे को लगता है मैं स्ट्रेस पे जा रही हूँ तो इस तरीके से मैं अपने आप को संभालने की कोशिश करती हूँ, बट इफ द सिचुएशंस आर आउट ऑफ माय कंट्रोल, तो ये घड़ी मैंने और इन्होंने पहन रखी है अपने पास। इन्होंने भी, जब हमें स्ट्रोक हुआ था तो इसको दबा देते हैं, तो हमारे घर के मेंबर जितने भी हैं उनको अलर्ट हो जाता है कि वी आर इन प्रॉब्लम। जैसे
Okay.
बाथरूम में फंस गए हैं या कहीं पे बेड पे फंस गए हैं, कहीं बहुत ज्यादा सिचुएशन ऐसी होगी हम नहीं बोल पा रहे, नहीं कुछ कर पा रहे, नहीं हिल पा रहे, तो बेल बजाते हैं, अलार्म मिल जाता है हमारे बेटे बहू को, वो देर न हो हमारे पास आ जाते हैं।
Okay. Okay, that's great. That's a way for you to reach out for help when you're not able to physically go somewhere to get help. Emergency. Yeah, absolutely. So and these are all great suggestions. And a couple of you have actually touched on what I'm going to say. In the moment, jab hamari anxiety itni ho jati hai that we just feel like, abhi, I don't know what's going to happen, right? We're just so stressed out. Anxiety itni heightened ho jati hai. The first step to restoring that sense of calm, right, is we have to interrupt the thought process. Because remember, I was saying that anxiety is internal and it has to do with our thoughts. And usually when you have anxiety, you'll have like racing thoughts. And, you know, like Prabhuji were saying earlier, that when you hear that noise, all of a sudden you start thinking, what happened? What if this happened? What if that happened, right? And so when we're in the middle of a situation where our anxiety is just rising and it's getting worse and worse, we have to do something to interrupt that thought process. Because like Narendra Aunty said, with the anxiety, we're in our thoughts, and our thoughts are taking us somewhere that's not the present moment. And by interrupting the thought, what we're trying to do, we want to disrupt the anxiety. We want to bring ourselves back to the present moment. And the present moment, we can do something like maybe gardening, or maybe we can do something that will make us really be here and now and not caught up in our thoughts. But what if you're somewhere that you don't have access to doing gardening, right? So then you have to do these techniques that are called grounding techniques. Grounding is very helpful. And grounding basically means bring your focus back to the present moment. So with grounding techniques, what we're doing is we're using all of our senses to bring ourselves out of our thoughts and back to the present moment, right? The whole point of grounding is कि हम अपने सोच में से निकल के अभी इसी वक्त अपने senses को इस्तेमाल करके present हो with this moment. ठीक है? So an example of grounding can be, think of, look wherever you are. And these grounding techniques can be something that you can do almost anywhere, right? For example, आप अगर कहीं जगह गई हैं and वहाँ पे आपको एकदम feel हुआ like my anxiety, maybe I'm going to have a panic attack, you're not sure what's happening. You want to ground yourself. And one of the things you can do is look around. So remember our senses. What are our senses? See, touch, hear, smell, taste, right? So we want to use our 5 senses. So look for 5 things that you can see. Just look around you. 5 things that you can see. Look for 4 things that you can touch. Okay? 3 things that you can hear. 2 things that you can smell. And 1 thing that you can taste. What that's going to do is you're going to be so focused on doing these things with your senses that आपके anxiety producing thoughts जो है वो interrupt हो जाती हैं. You're distracted from the anxiety now and you're back in the present moment.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
ठीक है? Another thing you can do, and I think a lot of people are familiar with this, is bring your attention to your breathing. So अगर आपकी anxiety इतनी ज़्यादा हो गई है कि you feel it's out of control, just close your eyes and think about the breathing, the air. How does it feel going in? Is it cold? Is it warm? How does it feel coming out? Is it cold? Is it warm? And focus on it. And you can even count with it. So count, 5 seconds in, hold it, then 5 seconds out. What anything you can do to bring your attention to using your senses is going to disrupt. Serene, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say I did like all the suggestions made, but for Narendraji, I would definitely suggest you do talk to somebody, especially if you're going through something like that. Like sharing with someone, they can also help you too and kind of guide you along. And like, what if it's something very serious that you can't deal with yourself? So I would definitely suggest to everybody that if you're ever in a panic stage or something's going on that you have no control over, you definitely ask for help too, because that's important, because other people can assist you too. So
absolutely. And reaching out for support wherever you are is another thing that can be very helpful. And obviously, if you're in a 911 emergency situation, then call 911 or get yourself somewhere safe. But what we're talking about is when we're overcome with these patterns that we have because of stress and because of with the buildup of anxiety. So we have strategies that we can use that will assist us in managing our emotions, right? Another thing someone had said about drinking water, but you can also take cold water and splash it on your face, or hold your hands under cold water, because you'll start to feel the coldness, and that again interrupts the thought process. Some people like to hold ice cubes. Some people actually take ice cubes, put it in a bag, and hold it on their face so they can feel the sensation of the cold. And then we've talked about going for a walk. So if you choose to go for a walk, then go for mindful walking. And mindful walking is where you go for a walk and you pay attention to the things that you can see and you pay attention to the things that you hear, right? So one of the grounding techniques that I use myself personally is, and we haven't met in person, so you guys wouldn't notice this, but I wear this ring. I have this ring that I wear, and it's really intricate, and it has like a design all around the band. And so when I feel, I'm somewhere, or if I feel like my anxiety is starting to creep up on me, I will play with my ring, because the feeling of it interrupts my thought process and brings me back to the present moment, right? So it doesn't have to be something that other people can notice. If it's something just subtle and you're starting to recognize the anxiety as one of your early warning signs, then you can do something to help yourself before it gets worse, right?
One thing,
Yes.
your ring has special stones?
It has turquoise on it, but it doesn't necessarily have to have any special stones or anything.
Then how you say this is helpful?
Because it's not flat. It's let me see if I can show
you
you.
can't take it out.
Can you see? It's very intricate all the way around. It has a lot of detail.
Very good design.
Yeah, it has a lot of detail. So I wear this all the time. And if I feel like my anxiety is starting to creep up, I'll just play with my ring. And as I play with it and I'm paying attention, then it interrupts my thought process.
Change the attention.
Thank you.
It changes, yeah, shifts my attention. Yeah.
Yeah, now I came to understand.
Okay, go ahead, Prabhaji.
Yeah, I just want to explain whatever I am a problem solver. I just sometimes many times I have give these tips to my daughter and people also. Okay, if you will see your nose, wind is coming from right side or left side. If left side, if you are in trouble and you notice from which side your wind is coming from, and notice from which side the nose is coming, so lay down on that side and take the after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the wind from other notes will start coming, then your change, then your mind will change according to, definitely.
Okay, that's a great tip. See? Okay, so many things that we can learn from each other. Thank you. The other thing I really want to stress is be kind to yourself. Practice self-compassion, right? Think about if someone else, someone sitting next to you was going through what you're going through, you would be so soft and gentle and compassionate with them. But when we are going through it, we start telling ourselves, okay, what's wrong with you? Okay, why are you thinking like this? Okay, and we start to become so like harsh with ourselves. And what I'm saying is it's very, very important for our mental health that we practice self-compassion and always be kind with ourselves. Okay, so let's try to understand why grounding works. Okay, so when we start to think about something stressful, a part of the brain, the amygdala, goes into action, right? The amygdala is responsible for our emotional responses, especially fear. It's great for preparing us for emergency, but sometimes it kicks into action and it detects a threat when there really isn't any, right? So the typical process would be like this. We have a negative thought about a situation. And remember, thought doesn't necessarily mean that it's real, but our amygdala says, emergency, emergency. And so then our body prepares for an emergency. So we start to have faster breathing, we have muscle tension, maybe we have rapid heartbeat. And then the amygdala interprets the body's responses as further evidence that yes, danger is coming. And then this further activates the amygdala. And this creates a vicious cycle where we become more and more anxious and physically and emotionally overwhelmed. Okay. Now, I know like our brain is, first of all, does anyone have any questions about that? Are we good?
No.
Okay. Our brains are very complex. Okay. And I know this is a really super simplistic explanation, but let me show you a model of your brain using your hand. Okay, so I want everyone to do this with me because maybe the next time this happens to you, you'll remember and it might interrupt the thought process for you. So make a fist with your thumb on the inside. Thumb on the inside. Okay, now your fist represents your brain. Okay, the fist represents the brain. The fingers that we have folded over represent the prefrontal cortex. Okay, this is what helps us to think and to learn. Okay, this part of the brain. Now, raise your fingers up, just your fingers. You see your thumb? Your thumb represents the amygdala. Okay, the amygdala is in charge of emotions. Okay, and your palm represents the hippocampus. The hippocampus is where what helps us remember, okay, for memory. So when we're calm, so we have our fist with the thumb inside. When we're calm, the prefrontal cortex is in charge and we're thinking clearly. We're fine, we're in our zone, we're going along life, everything is fine. But when something happens and it triggers a big emotion, we flip our lid, okay? So if we flip our lid, that means the prefrontal cortex is gone out of the picture, our amygdala takes over, and it's hard for us to think clearly. The prefrontal cortex is struggling to think clearly because now the amygdala is taking action, right? So what we need to do is we need to calm down the prefrontal cortex so that the amygdala is no longer in charge. And with the prefrontal cortex relaxed, we can do our best thinking again. So Is that kind of helpful?
Yeah, it's helpful. Yeah.
Right. So
When
next
we
time, if you
simply-
guys, and next time, if you guys feel like, oh my God, my anxiety, think about your hand and go through this process, because it's going to interrupt that anxiety thought process.
If someone is
Okay.
sitting near to us, he will think that he is going to
Get a punch.
if someone
You're
is
so
sitting
funny.
near to us, if we will do this, he definitely think that he is going to punch.
Ready.
Yeah. But grounding techniques really help because they break the cycle by interrupting our thought process, right? And bringing us back to the present moment. And that's what we want to do when we have that heightened level of anxiety. Okay? Another effective way is to challenge unhelpful thoughts or distorted thinking. What do I mean by that? When we're thinking, like unhelpful thoughts. So imagine sometimes you're trying to do something and you can't do it right. And then you're getting stressed out because you're unable to accomplish whatever this thing is. And then you start to tell yourself, I'm so dumb. I never do anything right. And you start to say all this negative self-talk, right? Because all of this stuff is tied together. So with the negative self-talk, where those are unhelpful, right? And when we say things like, I never do anything right, that's distorted thinking. So basically, I'm saying challenge that thought. If I were to challenge that thought, then I would say, okay, wait a minute. How likely is it that I've never done anything right in my life? It's not true. That thought is false, right? Maybe I can't get this right. Maybe I need to learn more. But to tell ourselves that I can't do anything right, that's just distorted thinking. Another example is if maybe you think that you're not a good mother, and so therefore you believe that you must not be a good mother because you think you're not a good mother, so therefore you must not be a good mother. And the two are not the same, right? So we have to challenge that thought. Have I ever done anything that was helpful? How true is this? How much of this is actually real? How much of this can apply to me? We have to challenge these unhelpful thoughts. And then we will be able to see through it. And that can also help us to bring down the anxiety. Serene, go ahead.
I think that something that helps me is thinking about even other people, because there are people that encourage you and motivate you and give you good feedback. But then, and on the other hand, there are some people who discourage you, and the things that you even think are repeating what other people have said before. So you got to be careful of who you choose to go by, because do people really know you if they're saying all these bad things about you? And people that say good things about you, they actually care about you. They want to see you succeed. So where do you want to end up in life, right? So you have to sometimes learn to choose like whose advice you want to go with and what you want to think about, even when you're doing things and under stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So, yeah, and it's true. Like who we surround ourselves with is going to have a huge influence on our thinking, on our mindset, the way that we talk to ourselves, our behavior, the way that we show up, right? But and possibly even with unhelpful thinking and distorted thoughts, because if you're around someone who views everything in the world as scary and dangerous, that's going to rub off on you as well, because that's what they're going to keep telling you. The more you hear that, you may start to believe it as well, right? We can break negative coping habits by stopping and thinking. And I call that practicing the pause, and then choosing positive coping skills. So a couple of people, you guys have said, stop, take a break, take a deep breath, drink some water, go for a walk, all of these things. And what that's doing is it's giving us time to process and to really think, okay, am I going to just react based on what I'm feeling right now? Or can I choose a healthier way of dealing with this, right? So practicing the pause. All right, so now let me ask you guys something else. What do you think of when I say, what do you think mental health treatment looks like?
I'm not
Conversation.
understanding.
Conversation? Okay, sorry, Prabhaji.
I'm not getting actually.
Oh, okay. अगर मैं आपको बोलूं कि mental health treatment जो है, आपके सोच में, what does that look like?
A walk.
A walk?
A walk.
Have okay, okay.
A walk.
I'm
Okay.
thinking,
Mental health?
Dangerous.
Something
I'm
deep.
thinking like a doctor, going to a doctor and having being tested and stuff like that. See what's
Okay.
wrong exactly.
Okay. I go to Prabhaji and then to Kamalji. Go ahead, Prabhaji.
What we should not be afraid of that. That will be beneficial for us. If we go to some psychologist, then they can treat us very nicely.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Prabhaji, go ahead.
Yeah, mental health is very necessary for every reason for the life, because mind is the master of the body. So if the body, if the mind is not working, so it is very necessary to get the help from anyone.
Okay. And when you say help, are you talking about, like, जब आप ये सोचती हैं कि mental health treatment होगा, तो आप यही सोचती हैं कि जैसे कोई डॉक्टर के पास जाना चाहिए, या ऐसे आपका सोच है?
हाँ, बिल्कुल
ठीक है,
डॉक्टर के पास जाना चाहिए जो उनसे रिलेटेड है, साइकोलॉजिस्ट है
जी,
या
okay,
कोई भी हेल्प.
ठीक है. Anyone else? Shantaji, you had your hand, and then Zubka.
I just want to say that particularly in our society, if anybody has mental illness or mentally not very stable or have some issues with, it's a big taboo there. They don't speak up. I would say you speak up to people where you can hear from people, not advice, but a path or a particular person who can help that person. That taboo we should try to, in our society, we should try to say that जब बुखार होता है हम डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं. Why not when mentally you're not feeling well, you go to the doctor?
Okay.
I don't understand why people have to hide it and make it, don't say anything about it. I don't agree with that at all.
Yes.
I don't think that any doctor can do anything for mental health.
Okay, we're going to come to you in a moment, Moni Auntie, in just one moment. Zubda, and then we'll go to Moni Auntie, and then Kamalji.
हमारी कंट्री में अगर कोई मेंटल हेल्थ का प्रॉब्लम होता है तो वो आराम से कह देते हैं तो पागल हो गया.
Exactly.
We don't have the terms for it, right? To understand it.
वो मुझे भी एक अटैक हुआ था कि मुझे इतना शदीद अटैक था कि मैं शाम के बाद 8 बजे के बाद मैं पानी भी नहीं पी सकती थी, क्योंकि मुझे लगता था अगर ये पानी पीऊंगी तो मैं मर जाऊंगी. किसी के घर से, मेरी देवरानी जेठानी के घर से कोई चीज आती थी, वो मैं खा तो लेती थी, लेकिन मुझे लगता था मैं मर जाऊंगी. वो मेरी अपनी हिम्मत थी कि मैंने साइकाइट्रिस्ट ढूंढी, फिर मैंने अपना ट्रीटमेंट शुरू किया. मैंने कहा मेरे लिए तो बहुत मसला है, ना मैं छोटी छत के नीचे जा सकती हूँ, ना मैं अननोन लिफ्ट में बैठ सकती हूँ जिसका मुझे नहीं मालूम. मैंने वो बहुत पीरियड जो था वो बहुत बैड गुजारा, लेकिन मैंने फिर डॉक्टर सामिया मरातब थी वहां पे, तो उनसे मैंने अपना ट्रीटमेंट कराया. तो वो वर्बली उन्होंने मुझे बहुत ठीक कर दिया था. इवन के मुझे एक छोटी सी गोली दी पेन किलर डिक्लोरिन की, कहती है ये खाओ. मुझे पेन हो रही थी बहुत बॉडी में. मैंने कहा नहीं, मैंने नहीं खानी. मैंने कहा इससे मेरी दोस्ती नहीं, मैंने कभी खाई नहीं, मैंने नहीं खानी. कहती है आप खाओ, मैं यहाँ सामने बैठी हूँ, कुछ नहीं होगा. तो मैंने खाई, लेकिन 10 मिनट के बाद फिर वही मेरे स्ट्रेस जो था वो मुझे फैलता गया. मुझे लगा जैसे मैं मर जाऊंगी, लेकिन उसने मुझे ऐसा बातों में उलझाया डॉक्टर ने, तो मैं उससे ये था कि मैं बेहतर हो गई. और मेरा जो ड्राइवर मुझे साथ लेके आता था वो जाके घर वालों को कहता था कि अम्मा पागल हो गई, अम्मा बातें करने के पैसे देने जाती है. तो लेकिन ये कि वो मेरा जो पीरियड था वो मैंने फिर भी जो ट्रीटमेंट करवाया उससे मैं काफी बेहतर हो गई. लेकिन अभी भी थोड़े थोड़े वो कहते हैं ना बैक्टीरियाज मेरे अंदर हैं, थोड़े से जरासीम है मेरे अंदर, कि सम टाइम मैं घबरा जाती हूँ, लेकिन फिर मैं अपने आप को कहती हूँ नहीं ऑल इज वेल. लेकिन ये कि डॉक्टर को दिखाना बहुत जरूरी है.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Kambalji ji, and then
मैं
Moni auntie, and then we'll go to Serene.
मेरी बात काफी वैसे जो मैं कहना चाहती थी हो गई, लेकिन इससे मेंटल हेल्थ से पहले ही ये मेरा क्वेश्चन था, मैंने हाथ रेज किया था लेकिन मैं कह नहीं पाई. वो ये था कि सारी बात से ये क्लियर हो रहा है कि you should be responsible for yourself and for your health. जैसे कि मी टाइम की बात हो रही थी, अपने लिए करो. लेकिन यहाँ पे एक प्रॉब्लम आती है कि we are not living alone. We are living in a family. तो हम we can be responsible for ourselves, that how should we behave, how should we react to something, some thing, other things. But we are controlled by the environmental events also. That somebody is doing like that, some person is doing like, behaving like that, which I don't like. Then how should I react? I am responsible for that. But when the other persons are not responding to that, then how should I control myself, or how should I behave to that situation? Number one. Second is, when we were talking about the mental health, this is very important, that when you try to control yourself, you are aware of all these things, but whenever clinically you are declared or you are diagnosed that you are suffering from some, say, mental health, then you should must approach to the psychologist or go to the doctor, or even you should not hesitate to discuss with the psychiatrists. This is my submission. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. एक बात आपने की है जो it's really important for us to understand, because I think Sutta was also touching on it, कि हमारा जो culture है वो mental health issues को recognize ही नहीं करता.
Yeah.
ठीक है. The other issue जो हमारे culture में बिल्कुल कोई किसी चीज की recognition ही नहीं है is healthy boundaries. And Prabhuji was talking about this earlier, कि I think it was Prabhuji who was saying that अगर किसी ने देखा family में कि मैं ये कर रही हूँ, उनको पता है कि it's my me time and they don't disturb me. And that's because she has those boundaries set in place. I'm not saying it's easy to set boundaries, because I can tell you from personal experience, it's not easy to set boundaries. However, if we don't set boundaries, then we allow people to just treat us the way that they want to treat us. Right?
Exactly.
And we have, if our wellness is our responsibility, फिर हमारे ऊपर depend करता है कि like हमारे ऊपर ये responsibility गिरती है कि हम healthy boundaries को in place करें, ताकि जो हमारे family members हैं उनको समझ आए कि मुझे भी me time चाहिए, right? I need to have my solitude. There's a couple of things that we gain by doing that. एक तो हमारा self-care जो है वो self-care needs, they get attended to, which is very important कि हम अपने self-care पे attention दे रहे हैं. But the other thing that's really important is कि जो हमारे आगे आने वाले generations हैं, जैसे हमारे बच्चे या उनके बच्चे, वो हमें देखेंगे कि you know, मैं अपने लिए time निकाल रही हूँ, दूसरा जो है वो मेरी respect कर रहा है, मैं उनकी respect कर रही हूँ. We're setting an example to break this generation जो आ रहा है, you know, कि एक दूसरे को we don't have the healthy boundaries, and एक दूसरे को हम respect नहीं देते कि maybe they have a mental health issue that they need to deal with and address, and all of the stigma that's around it that Shantaji was talking about. So when we take the time and put in the work that's involved, that's required to establish healthy boundaries, and we put in the time to pay attention to our self-care, we're not only doing it for us, but we're doing it so that we can show up better for the people that we care about. Right? Because if we have people in our lives and we are, we are part of our responsibility is taking care of them, and we're taking care of them and we are running on empty. हम कितना कर सकते हैं किसी और के लिए? We have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves ताकि we can show up in a way that doesn't take away from our physical or. So now we had, was there anyone else that I was going to go to? Serene, go ahead. And then I think Moni Auntie, yes.
Yes, I was just going to say that mental health is something that doesn't just affect you only. It's something that impacts everybody around you.
Yes.
Whether it's you or your family or your friends or your community, because you need everybody's support to get better, not just your medical team, but also your family and your friends and everybody, because, to be mentally sick and, to be seeking treatment, you have to make sure that, you're complying with the treatment and you're living your best life that you can. And sometimes even like they suggest with people who are not well to even like get out there and get involved and do things. So it's important that, where you live also accepts, like you don't even have to tell what you have, but if people are understanding towards your situation, that then it's going to take you a lot further in life than, people who just see you as boggle or whatever, people that are willing to work with you and help you and see the potential in you too still. I think that's important. And I think families are hit the hardest when it comes to mental health because, what can you do for yourself when you're mentally ill? And they have to do everything for you. And, you need to have that good team there too with you in your mental health and supporting you and making sure you're doing everything and you're, taking all the treatments and everything. So I think it really isn't just a one person thing, mental health. It's really a community, and how they react to you and how you are going to even get better affects that reaction. So, I'm really thankful that, I have such a huge family and they're very supportive. But there's some people that I know out there that don't even have anybody anymore. And it's like, nobody wants to struggle with you. Nobody wants to help you. Nobody wants to see you through. And it's really difficult for the person who is mentally ill to take those steps themselves. So, you should really think about the people that are supporting you too and that want to see you get better. So I definitely encourage you to not only just look at yourself in that situation, but what is everybody else going through too in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to go to Moni Auntie and then I'm going to continue.
Moni Auntie cannot solve the problems. As everybody, whatever they say, it suits me. Do this, do that. To me, there is no family who can support me. It's you guys who are sitting here in front of me right now. You are the one who will support me when you know about me. So I like to have your support all the time, and I think I'll be okay.
Okay.
My problem can be solved by your cooperation, by your asking, hi, how are you? You are my family.
Okay,
I like to
awesome.
think
for that.
in my
Yes.
shoes that you are all alone and there is nobody in the house. I have tremendous pain in my back. I have tremendous pain in my legs, but I walk around with my walker. If I need to go to the doctor, I take the Transhelp and I go. I go for the tomorrow. I have to go to Etobicoke Hospital for certain other thing. I do go. I don't ask it, take me, I don't call you guys, can you take me there, can you take me there? So I try to do what I can to live my life. And you are my family. I'm saying it today. You all have to look after me. Think about it.
Okay, Moni Auntie. And judging by all the hearts and the smiles and thumbs ups that you're getting, I think that everyone, the feeling is mutual with the group as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so before I go on, I want to make a really important distinction here. because I'm hearing some overlap in the conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
So mental health, everyone has mental health, just like everyone that has to be taken care of. Everyone has mental health that also has to be taken care of. That doesn't mean the same as a mental illness, okay? So mental health, everyone has it. Mental illness, not everyone has it. Just because you're being mindful of your mental health, and just because you are trying to maintain your mental health, doesn't automatically mean that you have a mental illness. Although, if you do, it's a great way for you to bring yourself back to wellness. But if you don't, maintaining mental health is something that's important regardless. Just like we have to take care of our physical health, it's very important and our responsibility to take care of our mental health. So when I was talking about mental health treatment, the reason I asked the question is because I wanted to kind of get a feeling of what you guys think. And almost everyone said, you need to go to a doctor and get some medication, right? But that may be so for a mental illness. But we're talking about mental health treatment. So how can I treat my mental health if I haven't got a mental illness? Because having a mental illness, you go to the doctor, you get your prescription medication. It may or may not help. Honestly, it may or may not help. But even the psychiatrist or psychologist or psychotherapist or whoever you speak with, even they will recommend that you do some of the strategies that we've been talking about, because this really helps to maintain mental health, right? And that's what the ultimate goal is, that we want to maintain our mental health. So, we often think treatment for mental health means therapy or medication. However, there are so many other ways that we can take care of our mental health, especially as preventative measures. So that's before it escalates to the point that it may become a mental condition or we may have a mental illness, right? And we've talked about a number of these already, but I just want to maybe just reiterate some of this. So again, taking care of our mental health can also look like setting healthy boundaries, exercising, having, saying positive affirmations. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, make a habit of telling yourself 3 things that you love about what you see. Tell yourself things that make you feel good about yourself, right? I'm a strong person. I am caring. Point out one of your features that you absolutely love. Because one of the things that's really difficult, I find, is when we look in the mirror, for us to say something positive to ourselves. We can say something positive to other people, but हम अपने आप को शीशे में देख के क्यों शर्मा जाते हैं? It makes no sense, right? But we get very shy when so we should make an effort to do that. I had to do a talk one time, and this is before COVID, so it was in person. And right by the registration table, as people came in to, make their name tags, I put a whiteboard and some markers, and I wrote a question on there. And I said, write 5 things that you love about yourself. And I stood there, and it was a women-only event. And as the women came in, they read the question and walked past the board. Read the question, walked past the board. I had to go and bring them back and say, no, I want you to write 5 things that you love about yourself. And so many women struggled with that. So many women struggled. हमारे लिए इतनी आसानी होती है अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं कि आपके जो बच्चे हैं उनकी कोई अच्छी चीज मुझे बताएं. You'll like this, tell me a list. And if I say अपने बारे में मुझे कोई अच्छी चीज बताएं, you struggle. What should I say? ऐसे होना नहीं चाहिए. We should be like this with ourselves too, right? Practice self-love, self-compassion. positive affirmations. Asking for support is really important. And काफी हमने बात की है, and we've had that discussion. It came up in discussion के दूसरों से मदद लो, and it's very important. Surround yourself with people that are going to support you in a positive way, not support you the way they think you need to be supported, but support you in the way that you need to be supported. There's a difference. Okay? And just because you have a specific relationship with someone, it doesn't automatically mean कि आप, you know, मेरी बहन है तो मैं अपनी बहन के पास ही जाऊंगी for support. Maybe she's not the best person for support for me. Maybe my friend is better support. तो मैं अपनी friend के पास जाऊंगी, the one who I can confide in. Right? So just because you have a certain relationship with someone doesn't make them automatic the go-to person for support. You have to see what's best suited for you and your needs, right? Connecting with others. As COVID, we've had a difficult time with that, but at least through Zoom, through phone calls, कोशिश करके एक दूसरे के साथ connect करें and keep that community and that connection strong. It's very, very important for our mental health. I want to say something here. And this is really important because काफी लोगों के साथ मैंने बात की है, and you know, I work with, and we talk about self-care, but sadly, most people, they're not in the habit of practicing self-care. Even अगर वो कहें कि okay, self-care के लिए ये मैं चीजें करती हूँ और मैं ये करता हूँ, right? The thing is that they're practicing aftercare. Self-care is when you're doing something as a preventative measure. We're doing something to maintain a level of wellness. Aftercare is what we do when we're already depleted, already exhausted. We just can't take it anymore. And how many people, maybe yourself, I know me in the past, I get to a point where I feel like I just can't take it anymore. I need to do some self-care. And फिर मैं जाके अपने लिए कुछ करती हूँ. That's not self-care. That's aftercare. Self-care, like I said, is preventative. It's used to help you stay well and maintain your level of peace and calm, no matter what's happening around you, right? It's better to practice self-care when you don't have a situation. It's better to practice it so that when things come up, you're already in a space that you can deal with it better. When you practice aftercare, you're just constantly managing one crisis after another. So that's something I want you guys to really pay attention to. Are you practicing self-care or are you practicing aftercare? Right? So any questions so far? How are we doing? Huh? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if I said that stress and anxiety can be your friend? अगर मैं आपको बोलूं कि stress or anxiety जो है, I can see Zubda's face already worried. क्या कह रही है? Okay. What if I say stress and anxiety can be your friend? Do you think that stress and anxiety can be good?
Yeah.
Yes.
At times, definitely it's good.
Yeah.
If you're not
And
stressed out
motivate
at
you.
all, you won't meet your targets. You won't do things. You'll be I will be, at least I'll be lethargic. Little bit of stress is needed to move forward.
Okay.
Exactly.
Not
Okay.
too much stress, but like just enough to motivate you and push you to do the things you need to do.
Okay. Anybody else?
Firstly, right. The stress will come, then we will decide how I will tackle this stress. The work will start to do.
That's such a great point. आपने बिल्कुल सही बात की है, Prabhaji, right? Because stress helps to keep you safe and helps you to make decisions. Okay? It monitors our bodies as we process external situations around us. So stress is really data, right? Stress is data. It's the way, what's going on around us. It's keeping us alert, right? Positive stress is when good things are happening to us, right? And negative stress is when things happening cause us to become more alert. So our body continually responds to positive or negative stress. And as we near the negative side, we become more alert, right? But it also tells us what action we're, if any, that we take. It depends on the data and how we process the data. Remember when I started and I said कि हम अपने आप को समझेंगे नहीं तो हम कैसे आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, हम कैसे changes ला सकते हैं अपने में to support our wellness अगर हमें समझ ही नहीं है कि हम किस चीज से गुजर रहे हैं और क्यों हमारी responses ऐसे क्यों हैं, right? So the action that we take, if any, depends on how we process that data. Now, that's how stress is our friend. What about anxiety? Barta jara, right? Anxiety is our ability to think things through and problem solve. So we have time to logically think things through, right? Now that I'm aware of a situation and how am I going to effectively problem solve it to my own satisfaction? Jab tak hum samjhenge nahi, if we don't recognize the data, how can we use it? So like stress, anxiety gives us data, and it's an opportunity for us to understand ourselves better. Hum apne aap ko behtar samjhe and function to the best of our ability, right? So if stress is good for us and anxiety is good for us, then what makes us sick? Right, Supta? If stress is good and anxiety is good, then why? Why are we sick? Because the part...
Too much of it?
Too much of it? Could be. But the part of stress and anxiety that makes us sick is directly related to what we think of it. Remember? The way that we process, the interpretation that we give to the event, it triggers our emotions, right? And our thoughts go to like the what ifs, right? What if this happened? What if this happened? The worry that comes with that, the unknown that comes with that, right? We have a fear of unknown. So it all leads to racing thoughts. And racing thoughts are what? Anxiety, right? So this is usually fueled by overthinking, overanalyzing, and looking to the worst case scenarios, right? I think, Prabhuji, you started with that. You said when you hear the sound of the brakes in the traffic and on the road, all of a sudden our mind goes to the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
And it's a natural thing because the mind is always trying to protect us. So it's always going to give us information for us to be on guard so that we can protect ourselves. This is what the mind does, right? But if we just allow ourselves to go into it without thinking for ourselves, then we can get caught up in those racing thoughts, right? It's also fueled by others around you, like Serene was saying, right? People that are always stating what their worries and concerns are, people that are always opinionated and they're everything that they offer you, the options, everything, it's just maybe creates more stress. So that also feeds into this whole thing. So when we overthink, we focus on worst case scenarios, then what we're doing is we try to solve the problem in our mind. Right? So now something's happened, we're overthinking it, we've made it like a what if scenario where it's the absolute worst thing that can happen. And hum khud, without anything else or any proof of it being true or not, hum apne mind mein isko like solve karne ki koshish kar rahe hain, right? But because the situation has not actually taken place, kuch hua to nahi hai, sirf hamara soch hai, right? Kuch hua to nahi hai, so that it's being played out in our mind. It's causing us to have more and worry and what ifs. And we can't effectively problem solve if that's where we're trying to solve the problem from. If we're in the mindset of kya hoga, I'm so worried, what if, what if, from that state of mind, we're not able to problem solve effectively. And this is what leads to increased anxiety, the shallow breathing, the decreased oxygen levels to the brain, which causes more confusion. And then that fuels more anxiety. And then that's that out of control cycle, causing us to lose sight of the real issue and to, and our thinking becomes foggy and confused. And then that worsens our situation even more. So हम anxiety की वजह से हम ज़्यादा like परेशानी में सोच में चले जाते हैं, and then उसकी वजह से हम ज़्यादा anxious होते हैं. So it's a complete cycle, right? Life is always going to have situations that are out of our control and cause us stress. But what we do in those situations, हम उन situations में जो करेंगे, जो सोचेंगे, जो actions लेंगे, that's going to be vital for our physical and our mental health. Having a healthy lifestyle and a healthy mindset helps us to thrive in life. But also keeping the focus on things that are in our control gives us a sense of being in control, even if the situation is out of our control. This helps us feel safe. So for example, COVID ki wajah se, we couldn't do so many things, and COVID is something that is out of our control. हम में से उसको control कर सकता है. But if in my own day, अगर मैं अपनी routines पे focus करूं, right? और मैं जो चीजें मैं खुद अपने लिए कर सकती हूँ, उन पे मैं focus करूं, then I don't have time to focus on the things that are out of my control. I don't have time to focus on COVID because I feel very much in control. Even when outside the situation is out of control, inside for myself, I feel peace, I feel calm because I'm focusing on the things that I'm in control. And when our mind feels that it's out of control, it triggers the anxiety. But if our mind feels that we're in control, then it helps us to feel safe. It helps us to deal better. Right? So any questions so far? Anybody have anything they want to say? Go ahead, Prabhaji.
So it means don't cross the bridge until you reach there. You want to say that when the situation will come, then we will handle it.
And prepare yourself in the meantime, right? So what are some of the things that we can do to maintain self-care and maintain our mental health? And in चीजों की हमने बात की भी already, but there's a few more that I'll mention. Madanji, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Fozia. First of all, I'd like to thank you for enlightening us, teaching us so many good things and simple things in the simple format. And then I also like to say something about Moniji. Moniji, you are not alone and you are a strong woman.
Thank you.
The more you think about others' help, the more you will go down. Stay saying, I can do it, I can manage it myself, and you will be a strong woman. And you are a strong woman.
Thank you.
God and you are two in one. You and your God. That's all you need, not anybody else.
Thank you, Madanji. Thank you.
They're all there to help you when you need it, but don't expect them to help you. Expect yourself, your own body, your own encouragement, your own thoughts, positive thoughts that you can go, you can do it. That will make you a stronger person.
Thank you, Madanji.
The rest, Fozia have mentioned so many good things about stress and anxiety and about self-help, self-care. I like the one you're saying, Fozia, care before and care after. I mean, once you are ill, that's care after, means you already tagged yourself as you are ill.
Right.
And once you start saying that I'm sick, I guarantee you, even if you are not sick, you will become sick.
You identify with it, absolutely.
Because you start saying yourself, you are sick.
Right.
So think of it, there are, I mean, in the life, small things all the time happen.
Sure.
Because things happen, that doesn't mean something going wrong,
No.
right?
Thank
So
you.
my salute to you and hats off to you for your such a simple
you.
way of explaining all that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Moniati, you're never alone.
Thank you, Beta. Thank
Yeah.
you. You made my day.
Oh. Okay, so let's just wrap it up quickly then. And I'm sorry, I know we went over. I hope that we were able to address a lot of the questions that came up. But I just want to point out a couple of things when we talk about maintaining or managing like our mental health or from a preventative place. Practicing gratitude is so important, okay? Find small things to be grateful for. I always recommend everyone that I work with to have a gratitude journal. Keep your gratitude journal on the side of on your bedside table, and every night before you go to sleep, the last thing I want you to do is write 3 to 5 things that you were grateful for that day. A couple of things will happen. One, first of all, it may be difficult in the beginning. It doesn't have to be something big or elaborate. It could be, oh, I drank 8 glasses of water today. I'm grateful. You know, it could be anything. But as you continue to do that, what's going to happen is you end the day in gratitude. And when you are in a mindset of gratitude before going to bed, it has a positive impact on your sleep quality. When you wake up after a good night's sleep, you have a better outlook for the day. When you have a better outlook for the day, you just feel better, right? And as you do this consistently, the mind will start to be trained that I have to make a list at the end of the night. So it's going to start to look for things to be grateful for. And when you have a down day, maybe like 2 हफ्तों के बाद तबीयत ठीक नहीं है or you feel a little bit sad or something, आप अपना gratitude journal खोल के पढ़ें और देखें कि पिछले 2 हफ्तों में आपने कितनी चीजें लिखी हैं, and it will shift your mood. ठीक है? Gratitude journal is so important. So let's get into the habit of practicing gratitude. The other thing is relaxation. We live in an environment that is go, 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 go. We need to take time out and do things that help us to relax and to calm down. So me time is amazing. I love my solitude, myself, to just be able to sit and sometimes do nothing. Me time doesn't mean I have to sit down and read a book. I have to, do this for myself. Me time can be sitting and doing nothing. If you want to reflect on your thoughts, reflect on your thoughts. If you don't, you just want to look out the window and watch the neighbor's dog run around the yard, sit down and watch the neighbor's dog run around the yard. But do nothing sometimes. It's healthy. Exercise. We need to have some kind of physical activity. And housework doesn't count. Sorry, ladies. But mental health is our kind of physical activity. Also, acknowledge our feelings and accept them, right? So we are conditioned to think that some feelings are good and some feelings are bad. Feelings are just feelings. We can use this as data as well. So if I'm feeling angry, I can write in my journal, I'm feeling angry. And I acknowledge it, but I don't have to act on it. But it's important for us to really validate what we're feeling. And we have to do that through accepting and just acknowledging what our feelings are. And then we can choose what we want to do with it if we want to do anything at all. All right, track your thinking. That was another thing about journaling. So pay attention to your thinking patterns. We start to recognize our automatic way of being. And when we know where we are, where we're starting from, फिर हम changes कर सकते हैं, हम changes ला सकते हैं. We can choose differently. We don't have to just be captive to our automatic way of being. Having schedules and routines, I already talked about the importance of that. Changing our expectations so that we can focus on progress, not perfection. This is so important. कितनी दफा हम focus करते हैं कि things have to be perfect. Don't focus on perfection. Focus on progress. कि मैंने कितना किया, right? Maybe today my best effort is only 37%. Maybe tomorrow it might be 86%, but we can only put in our best effort. Let's just focus on our progress, not on perfection, right? And also with new times, there's new expectations. So don't pressure yourself if you're not doing everything that we used to do before COVID. COVID has been hard for a lot of people. And if COVID has slowed you down, then it's okay to slow down a little bit. Accept that and be kind to yourself, right? Acknowledge and validate your feelings, but also acknowledge and pay attention to the feelings of others as well, right? Because just like we're going through possible physical and mental fatigue, maybe they're also going through it. Take breaks throughout the day. So take a moment to just detach from the pressures of the day. Meditation helps, prayer helps, right? And this can actually, if you walk away from something and then go back to the clear mind, you can actually be more efficient and more productive with your time, right? And lastly, I want to say about asking for help. It's okay to ask for help and to seek support from a friend or from someone else or from a professional, right? Now, if you notice that you are struggling and you've tried different strategies, but the symptoms of stress and anxiety just are not going away, then it might be time for you to speak with a professional, right? For some talk therapy and possibly some medication. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope that was helpful and beneficial.
I just want to say one thing only. I
Absolutely.
just want to say, if there is any problem, one should go to a very professional person, because if you will go here and there, you can be misguided or
Yes.
misused also.
Yes, yes, it's true.
For me, it was even difficult finding the right doctor. So sometimes you have to look around too. You can't always just go by one. So that's what my advice is. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's another thing. It's a great point, Serene, is that when we go out and we think, okay, I'm just going to go to the doctor, maybe you and the doctor don't click. Maybe what the doctor is asking you to do is just, you know, not in alignment with who you are and what you feel comfortable doing. So it's okay for us to, you know, go to another doctor. Unfortunately, and I say this sad, as of COVID, it's really, really difficult for us to find a doctor, one, that's taking new patients, and two, seeing a specialist. I mean, we have months, if not, you know, years waiting list to see certain doctors. So unfortunately, the system is not perfect, but we have to navigate it the best we can.
I would suggest to join the Malton Women's Council's Zoom meetings,
Yes.
and that will cheer you up and you'll forget about any of the worries. Am I right, Uzma?
Absolutely right.
You're 100% right.
You will get new ideas.
Positive side of your life.
Yes.
Look, you have a roof, you have food at your table. During COVID, I used to tell people, there are people who don't have food. They don't have a job. They don't know where to live. Look at them and you feel you're fortunate and feel positive. That itself will help in your mental, it'll change your mental health in a lot of ways, in the sense your thinking will change, and that will make you feel better.
Yes, and I'll take it even furthermore, because Shantaji, that's such a great point that you brought up. But when you pay attention to helping others, maybe that are in need, that also is so tremendous for your mental health, because you're taking away the focus on yourself and you're putting it into service of other people. And so that also has a really positive impact on our mental health.
Feeling happiness to do help others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Fozia. I'm looking at the time and there was no rush. Fozia अपने तरीके से आराम से सबके सवालों के जवाब दे रही हैं, इंक्लूड कर रही हैं. Excellent program, बहुत सी चीजें. So जो गुलनाज कह रही थी कि to do list and when she check mark. Gulnaz, where do you put yourself in your checklist, in your priority list? Put yourself there. We often forget to put that. आप लोग वो जरूर करें. हमें बाद में ख्याल आता है कि हाँ अब तो कंधा टूट गया, अब ख्याल रखना है कंधे का. हम उससे पहले खुद को बचाने की कोशिश ही नहीं करते. तो ये बहुत जरूरी है. फिर उसमें जो मेरी सेल्फ केयर है उसमें सिंपल एक चीज है जो फौजिया ने कहा कि रात का आखिरी काम ग्रेटिट्यूड जर्नल. मैं उससे पहले, क्योंकि मैं ग्रीन जोन फिलॉसफी की एम्बेसडर हूँ, तो मैं सोने से पहले 3 चीजें देख लेती हूँ. किस वजह से मेरा मूड खराब हुआ था आज, किस वजह से मैं खुश थी और कितनी देर तक मेरे वो मूड्स रहे हैं. सो मेरी सेल्फ केयर ये है कि आने वाले कल में मैंने अपने आप को उस खराब मूड में नहीं लेके जाना, उससे बचना है. उससे मैंने कैसे बचना है ये मुझे सोचना है. मुझे वॉक करके बचना है, मुझे किताब पढ़ के, मुझे म्यूजिक सुन के, मुझे सही दोस्त से बात करके. किसी ऐसे दोस्त से मैं बात ना करूं जो बात कहीं की कहीं कुछ और बन जाए. तो वो राइट फ्रेंड्स, जैसे राइट डॉक्टर हैं उस तरह राइट फ्रेंड्स का होना बहुत जरूरी है. जो बात हुई राइट डॉक्टर्स की, अनफॉर्चुनेटली जो हमें मेंटल हेल्थ की काउंसलिंग करते हैं वो यहाँ बहुत कम है और बहुत एक्सपेंसिव है. आज भी मैं एक फोरम में थी और यही बात कर रही थी कि वेट लिस्ट बहुत बहुत लंबी है जो फ्री में काउंसलिंग करते हैं. ये हम लोगों को देखना है. अगेन हमारा वो सर्कल होना चाहिए. थैंक यू शांता जी ये बताने का कि मॉल्टन विमेन काउंसिल वो सर्कल ऑफ फ्रेंड्स हैं, अनपेड फ्रेंड्स हैं. ठीक है, अनपेड डॉक्टर्स हैं जिनसे आप बात कर सकते हैं, दिल की बात कर सकते हैं. जो आप लोगों ने कहा कि अभी प्रोग्राम्स हमारे जो हैं वो बहुत जरूरी है, तो प्लीज लिस्ट बना लीजिए, देख लीजिए. हमारे अभी अगले फ्राइडे को जो प्रोग्राम आ रहा है शाम को 6 से 8 बजे, वो इंडस कम्युनिटी सर्विसेज आके बताएंगी कि कम्युनिटी में और कौन सी सर्विसेज अवेलेबल हैं. हमारा इन पर्सन प्रोग्राम है, प्लीज मार्क योर डेट, इट्स August 4th. विमेन प्रोग्राम है मॉल्टन में इन पर्सन. आई नो बहुत से लोग नहीं आ सकेंगे. मदन अंकल आप तो नहीं आ सकते लेकिन अपनी फ्रेंड्स को भेज सकते हैं. ठीक है. और फिर इन पर्सन प्रोग्राम हमारा है August.
कहाँ पर है ये प्रोग्राम?
सेवा फूड सेंटर में आंटी.
किधर है सेवा फूड?
सेवा फूड में आंटी फ्लायर आपको भेज देंगे. हर महीने हम फ्लायर भेजते हैं, आपको अलग से भेज देंगी, गुलनाज भेज देंगी. और हमारा जो इन पर्सन ब्रैम्पटन में प्रोग्राम होगा August 8th को, दैट इज फॉर विमेन, फॉर मेन, फॉर यूथ, फॉर सीनियर्स. कोई भी ज्वाइन कर सकता है. और उसका टॉपिक है कोपिंग विद ग्रीफ. हमें वो भी तो हैंडल करना आना चाहिए ना, ग्रीफ किस तरह हैंडल करते हैं. ये कुछ पॉइंट्स थे. जैसे फौजिया ने बात की थी कि टाइम चेंज हो गया, न्यू टाइम. तो न्यू टाइम में कोशिश करें कि यहाँ आप लोग देखिए एक रिएक्शन का बटन है आप लोगों के सबकी स्क्रीन पे, उसको दबाएं तो वहां एक रेज हैंड का है. अगर आप सब लोग ये दबा के मुझे दिखाएं ताकि पता हो कि सब कर सकते हैं, तो ये प्रेजेंटर पे स्ट्रेस थोड़ा कम कर देगा. उसको नजर आएगा कि सबने हाथ ऐसे खड़े किए. जब हम यूं कर रहे होते हैं तो वो पता नहीं चलता कि किसने पहले खड़ा किया था हाथ, किसने बाद में. मोहिनी आंटी आपको नजर आया? जी आंटी, इसके साथ एक और भी है, रेज हैंड उस पे लिखा होता है.
सबसे नीचे है, बॉटम
I
में.
actually do have something else to say. I forgot something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, finish what you're saying first.
Okay. So
ठीक है,
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
Yes.
तो 2 चीजें आसानी के लिए, 2 चीजें हैं. जब आपने बात करनी हो तो ये वाला इलेक्ट्रॉनिक हैंड रेज कर दें, और जब आपकी बात खत्म हो जाए तो जैसे प्रेजेंटर स्टार्ट करते अपने आप को आप म्यूट कर लिया करें. ताकि कई दफा बैकग्राउंड में आवाज आ रही होती है, हम कुछ कर रहे होते हैं, हमें लगता है कि आवाज नहीं जा रही, लेकिन ये जो टेक्नोलॉजी है ना, ये छोटी छोटी सी चीजों को कैच कर लेता है। मैं अगर कागज उठा के यूं करके यूं रखती हूँ ना, उसकी भी आवाज आएगी। तो वो हम लोगों को थोड़ा थोड़ा ये चीजें सीखनी है। जो मोहिनी आंटी ने बात की अकेले रहने की, तो दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ दिस कंट्री। आपको इंडिपेंडेंस सिखाता है। आपको ऑक्सीजन लगी है, आप अपना स्कूटर लेके वो पाइप लगा के निकल गए, कोई आपको जज नहीं करता। यहाँ हम लोगों के मुल्कों में अनफॉर्चुनेटली, जैसे मेंटल हेल्थ पे बात होती है, ऐसे फिजिकल डिसेबिलिटी पे भी बात होती है। हमारी छोटी छोटी चीजों को लेके बैठ जाते हैं। तो मोहिनी आंटी, ये मुल्क इंडिपेंडेंट रहना सिखाता है। आपके पास ट्रांस हेल्प आ जाती है, आपके पास लोग आ जाते हैं, सिस्टम आपको सब कुछ प्रोवाइड करता है। आई बिलीव कि आपके पास PSW आती है आपका ख्याल रखने के लिए, कुछ ना कुछ है। एक नया प्रोग्राम शुरू हुआ है, उसमें उन्हें वॉलंटियर चाहिए हैं, सीनियर्स जो यूथ के साथ काम करें। यूथ भी वॉलंटियर है, सीनियर भी वॉलंटियर है। सीनियर
आगे होते थे। जब मेरे हस्बैंड सिक थे, आज से 8 साल पहले, वॉलंटियर आती थी, 2 घंटे उनके पास बैठ के जो भी कुछ करना। आई यूज टू गो आउट एंड हेल्प आउट इन द मॉल्टन विलेज।
जी,
She used to be here with my husband. अब कोई नहीं मिलता मुझको
नहीं आंटी,
करने के
अब
लिए।
इसलिए नहीं मिलता क्योंकि इस वक्त आप केयर गिवर नहीं है। उस वक्त आप केयर गिवर थी तो आपको सपोर्ट करने आते थे।
अच्छा,
केयर गिवर सपोर्ट प्रोग्राम्स अभी भी अवेलेबल हैं कम्युनिटी में, बट बिकॉज यू आर नॉट अ केयर गिवर, तो इसलिए वो नहीं आएंगे। अगर आपका कोई ख्याल रख रहा हो, उसके लिए वो आ जाएंगे, ताकि वो बाहर 2 घंटे हुआ। मोहिनी आंटी, जो नया प्रोग्राम एक और ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने इंट्रोड्यूस करवाया है, वो दे आर लुकिंग फॉर वॉलंटियर सीनियर्स जो कोई स्किल सिखा सकें यूथ को। तो कितनी अच्छी बात है, आप उसको हारमोनियम बजाना या गाना सिखाएंगी, वो आपको टेक्नोलॉजी सिखा देंगे। तो गुलनाज, इफ पॉसिबल, मोहिनी आंटी को उसमें इनसे पूछ के बता के तो रजिस्टर कर दो।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
That's
तो
such a
आंटी,
great program.
हम लोग यहाँ बैठे यही कोशिश करते हैं कि सॉल्यूशंस ढूंढें। प्रॉब्लम सबके पास है, मेरे पास भी, आपके पास भी, सब। तो कोशिश करते हैं अपने अपने लेवल पे। देखें आंटी की स्माइल कितनी अच्छी आ गई है। तो ये सारी बातें थी जो मैंने कर ली। एंड नाउ बैक टू यू फौजिया, यू वांटेड टू ऐड समथिंग।
Okay, yes, I did. So I promised you guys a tool that I could leave you with that would help you with sort of checking in with yourself in different areas of your life. So give me one moment here. I'm just going to do a quick screen share. And let's see. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So this is what I use in my workshops, and it's called a wellness wheel. And the instructions are up here, what you can do. But basically, so each section, they're all labeled, has 10 subsections, if you will. And basically what you do is you start from the center and you work outwards. So for example, say in your sleep, you only get 3 or 4 hours, then you would only put maybe not even halfway, maybe up to a 4 or a 5 in for your sleep. And you can color it in with a pencil to see how you're doing, or with a coloring pencil, it doesn't matter. But say in your relationships, you're really good in your relationships, and maybe you put an 8 or a 9 for your relationship. Then suppose for your spirituality, you put a 10. Okay. So, and then for your nutrition, maybe you don't eat so well, so you put a 2 or a 3. Now, after you fill in all of the areas, look at it and imagine if this was a wheel, would it be able to turn? If you have 10 here, 7 or 8 here, 3 here, 2 here, would the wheel turn? No, it wouldn't. That means you're neglecting a certain area of your life. So you want to bring that area put attention to that area of your life so that you can bring it. And when you color in the wheel, all the areas would be pretty balanced. And if that was a real wheel, it would roll. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. I'm going to send, I think I sent a copy, it was not to you as well. If possible, maybe under the recording of this, under the, you know, the channel, under this recording, maybe we can have a link. Yeah, in the description. Thank you. We can have a link and everyone can just download a copy of this and you can use it.
Yeah, can we send to our WhatsApp?
Yeah, absolutely. I can post it in WhatsApp as well. And I don't know if there's a section on the Multi-Women Council website for self-care tools and resources. Maybe we
can look into that.
Yeah, we can put it there as well. So that was something that I really wanted to leave with you guys because we talked about a lot of things today, but I want you to be able to apply them and really implement them in your life in a way that you can check in with yourself and see if what you're doing is working. So that's all I have for you now.
Thank you for